Are you ready for another episode of the Wild Stallion Mockast? The all AI-generated Pseudo podcast? Well, how cool is that? Today on episode 3 of the WSM Presents Mystery Clip, Denny Anthony is going to totally share his heart with us. You know how weird Denny is, so this should be fun. What is Denny going to be talking about today? Well, that's why it's the mystery clip, right? The point is to have the mystery uncovered. Now, before we dive into this, it is important to note that the voices on the WSM are AI technology and may not reflect the views or beliefs of their counterparts. That said, I'm your host Autumn Reed, a friend of Denny since we were kids in Visalia. Denny tells me that of all of the friends he had from the past, I'm among the 10 or so who he didn't basically cut off from his social media profile. I know, right? Denny calls that reckless abandonment to God, and he's not afraid to be reckless about it either. He plays no games with God or man. Hardcore, right? But, yeah. So, without further delay, we'll begin after this introduction by the awesome Sylvester Stallone. So, don't touch that dial. Stay tuned, Sparky.
Welcome to the Wild Stallion Mockast, where mortal topics meet an eternal perspective. Here, we ride beyond the boundaries of mortality, beyond the narrow paths of right and wrong, and into the open plains of agape love, the eternal truth. The Wild Stallion has no reins, no bit, and no burden. Its freedom is its power, and its only companion is Christ. Not a rider to dominate, but a presence to guide, walking beside with the strength of eternity. In this place, we don't wrestle with the binary of good versus evil. Instead, we uncover the beauty of what was always meant to be, the unity of creation, the logic of love, and the infinite possibilities of a father-centric cosmos. So saddle up, or better yet, let go, and join us as we gallop headlong into conversations that challenge, inspire, and awaken. This is not a journey for the faint of heart, but for those bold enough to embrace the untamed, the unbroken, and the eternal. Welcome, friend, to the Wild Stallion Mockast. The plains are endless, and the ride begins now.
Hey there, listeners. Denny Anthony here. I want to share some personal thoughts and contemplations with you today. These aren't teachings or doctrines, but simply my own beliefs, my own journey. My intention isn't to convince anyone or claim authority. It's to share openly and authentically in the hope that it resonates or sparks reflection. I invite you to listen, reflect, and take what resonates with you. I don't follow politics, not because I'm indifferent, but because I believe our kingdom isn't rooted in the patterns of this world. The mindset of us versus them, what some might call duality, leads us away from truth. I believe the truth lives within each of us, and as we align with what our hearts tell us to believe, we encounter that truth in our experiences. But what does my heart tell me? It tells me that since the day after Pentecost, we've been repeating the pattern of the world. Jesus brought us a kingdom, a reality, beyond the choices of good versus evil or right versus wrong. Yet humanity clung to the knowledge of the forbidden tree, believing it to be the arbiter of justice rather than trusting our Father's never-ending love and mercy. Politics, as we often understand it, thrives on division, the mindset of us versus them. This duality, the need to classify everything into right or wrong, good or evil, is deeply ingrained in our world. Yet, I believe this mindset is not the kingdom Jesus spoke of. The kingdom he revealed transcends this binary framework. Jesus brought a kingdom where love, not knowledge of good or evil, is the foundation. Since Pentecost, however, I feel humanity has fallen into repeating the pattern of the world. We took the power and dominion God gave us, and instead of wielding it with love, we handed it back to what I understand as the dragon, a mindset that thrives on the idea of separation, which many call the Satan. This mindset, this dragon, is death itself, the anti-life force that convinces us we are separated from God, from each other, and from the truth of who we really are. It deceives us into believing we are isolated individuals struggling to survive, rather than eternal beings connected by the same love that holds the universe together. Now, about the one-world religion depicted in Scripture. Let's talk about this, yeah? In my understanding, we've constructed a one-world religion, born from the imagination that exalts itself against the knowledge of God. It's a religion centered on the pursuit of mammon, where money is seen as the key to the fullness of life. To chase after money, to prioritize it above all else, is to take the mark of the beast. The pursuit of getting ahead often leads to betrayal, not just of others, but of Christ within us. This mindset enslaves us to a pattern of toil, torment, and temporary rest, bowing to the dragon that gave the beast its power. I believe this is the essence of the number of the beast, the human number. Now, in my understanding, this dragon has created what I see as the one world religion. It's not some far-off dystopian concept, it's something we were all born into. This religion isn't about temples or rituals, it's about a belief system that exalts the imagine over the knowledge of God. So essentially, because Jesus gave us the dominion of God to us that we believed we could wield, look at what we have done with all of that power. We gave it back to the dragon, which is the mindset of Satan, that we are separated from God and one another, namely death, the anti-life, the state of unawareness as to what our Father's reality actually is, which is the only eternal reality there is. So, what was made was a one-world religion, where the whole of existence believed in the imagination that exalted itself against the knowledge of God, which is the knowledge of good and evil. The beast, which is Mammon, that received power, which is betraying Christ in humans with a kiss from the dragon, which is death, comprises the one-world religion we were all born into. What it forces us to believe is that if we want to experience the fullness of life, we need to obtain money. When we determine to chase after money in order to have true life, that is the mark of the beast, because it always leads to betrayal with a kiss, which is the mark of the beast. Sadly, very few people that I interact with seem to truly understand that we have already bore fruit for the beast in the very act of trying to get ahead of others of us, which is taking the mark of the beast. If we take this mark and to not turn away from that mentality, we have chosen to bow down to an idol that Jesus came to demolish. So then the cornerstone of this religion is Mammon, the relentless pursuit of wealth as the key to life's fullness. We've been conditioned to believe that money is the answer to our problems, the source of security, and the gateway to happiness. But when we prioritize money over love, we betray Christ within us. And many go to church and engage in that betrayed with a kiss. This, I believe, is the mark of the beast. Taking this mark isn't about a physical tattoo or microchip. It's a mindset. It's the act of bowing down to an idol that Jesus came to destroy. Every time we choose self-preservation over self-giving love, we bear the fruit of the beast. And yet, this isn't about condemnation, it's about awareness. When we see this pattern for what it is, we can begin to turn away from it and embrace the kingdom of love that Jesus revealed. If we take this mark and to not turn away from that mentality, we have chosen to bow down to an idol that Jesus came to demolish. Think about this one. Because we have a difficult time believing that the book of Revelation already transpired with a couple of previews, we insist that it hasn't, and we use fear to dictate how we use our very powerful faith to uncreate that which has been created at Pentecost, as if that were possible. So now we have been literally trying to create an upgrade to the pattern construct of the world that we as a people have assimilated. So desire gives birth to sin when it is full grown, and when sin is full grown, it gives birth to death. This is the number of the beast, the human number, and it is a ternary operating in a binary context, 616, as Papyrus 115 indicates. This would reveal the pattern of the mortal construction, which is 6 days of torment and toil, and 1 day of rest and 6 days of torment. And that is where the pattern stops in the book of Revelation. If we see that the number of the beast is 6, 6, and 6, as in the traditional manner, then we see that the number of mortality is simply 6, and the application is mortal man as the epicenter of creation for 3 ages until the pattern is broken. The number 6 is seen in the concept of time itself, as 6 multiplies to give a value of 100, which is impossible. For example, 60 seconds equal 100% of a minute. Only a liar would tell someone that 60 equals 100. This so-called Father Time is actually the father of lies, and time itself has no consciousness. Submitting to space-time as being our reality is the very essence of mortality, because it has no consciousness. And if one follows the path of unconsciousness, then mortality is understandable from an eternal standpoint. That is the one-world religion in a nutshell. The lie that when 60-fold is reached, we have the 100-fold. Poppycock! We always have the 100-fold within each of us, and his name is Yeshua, the anointed Messiah, aka Jesus Christ of heaven. We are seated with the 100-fold in the temple of God on earth at the right hand of God. The pattern of mortality, 6 days of toil, 1 day of rest, is the very structure of the world's construct. But Jesus came to free us from that. He invites us to break the cycle and enter into a life of eternal rest, one that isn't measured by time's false promises. Paul affirms, "Do not conform any longer to the pattern of the world, but be transfigured by the renewing of your mind." Let's talk about the day of Pentecost and the new creation, yeah? Love is the essence of everything. Jesus didn't come to condemn the world, but to save it through love. We're called to see one another through this lens of love, not through judgment or fear. Whether someone takes the freeway or the scenic route, we're all part of the same journey, the same family. I'll say it again, love is the essence of everything. It's not just an attribute of God, it's His very being. When Jesus said, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and mind," He wasn't giving us a command to follow out of obligation. He was inviting us into a reality where love is the foundation of all things. In this reality, there is no room for judgment or condemnation. We are one family, united by the same Spirit. Our differences, whether they be in beliefs, lifestyles, or choices, do not divide us. They enrich us. Take, for example, the topic of sexuality. I believe our Father desires each of us to experience the fullness of life, and that looks different for everyone. To judge someone based on their journey is to misunderstand the heart of God. Love doesn't compare or condemn, it embraces. What about homosexuality and the like? Here's my thought on this matter. We who are heterosexuals are wise not to prove homosexuality in our own lives. That would be just as hypocritical and unwise as a homosexual person trying to pretend that she is straight. This is not pleasing to our Father. He wants us all to experience the fullness of life on this earth, and to some of us within the family, that can appear to be all sorts of funky to others of us. But this is no reason to think us better than any other of us, and it is certainly not a license to condemn anyone. Just because taking the freeway is not the same as taking the scenic way, does not presuppose that the ones who chose the freeway are superior to those who took the streets. Even the 5 foolish virgins of Jesus' parable arrived at the banquet, albeit late and in darkness. Even in our differences, we are one heart, one mind, one hope, one love. Now, about the greatest commandment, let's chat about that right quick, yeah? I often contemplate the words, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord your God, the Lord is one." This isn't just a command, it's a promise. We understand that we have no enemies, that all of us are part of one family. We can truly love the Lord with all our heart and soul. And as we open the door to that love, as we hear the gentle knocking of Christ within us, we find ourselves overcoming the world just as He did. I see a profound truth in all of this. This isn't just a statement about God's nature. It's a declaration about our reality. We are one with God, one with each other, and one with all creation. When we live from this understanding, we naturally love the Lord with all our heart, soul, and mind. We hear the gentle knocking of Jesus within us, inviting us to open the door and let Him bring us into the fullness of love and life. This is the stuff that I believe. It may sound controversial or even blasphemous to some, but I share it not to provoke, but to invite reflection. Our Father's reality is one of love, life, and unity. As we align with that truth, we find freedom. Freedom from fear, freedom from condemnation, and freedom to live in the fullness of who we are meant to be. We live in a world that often feels fractured and chaotic, but I believe the truth of love is greater than any division. There is much uncertainty in society today. Like with the news being fake according to different camps of people, and knowledge and information seems to be convoluted and even confusing for some. But I believe this is because we are truly in a place of our evolution where we have broken the pattern and have come to realize that we simply cannot, in sound logic, continue to repeat the broken pattern. And those regurgitating their own hoarded supply of the chaff of old find it difficult to let go. That chaff is the knowledge of good and evil that condemns Father's children to either annihilation or eternal conscious torment, depending on what camp or group a person may choose to place themselves within. However, those of us who believe know that Jesus came and demolished the devil's works in 1 John 3:8. This means that regardless of anyone's belief in condemnation, that the knowledge of good and evil afforded, Father's word and judgment remains the same. Mercy triumphs over condemnation. Just as grace is not a license to sin, so too the knowledge of good and evil is not a license to condemn any sentient beings, especially not the sanctified species predestined to embody Father's logos forever, which is simply God in flesh forever. You feel me, people? trippy stuff, yeah? So dear listeners, my beloved family, I leave you with this. Don't fear what others fear. Don't call calamity what others call calamity. Instead, listen to the still small voice within you, the voice of love. When we align with that voice, we overcome the world, just as Jesus did. Blessings on you, Sparky. May love guide you always. Stay tuned for some closing thoughts from my friend Beth. Until the next, I'm Denny Anthony, concluding my part of the 4th episode of the WSM Presents Mystery Clip. Godspeed and God bless, and stay wild for love.
Hey there, listeners. It's Bethany here, and what a powerful contemplation we have heard here from the depths of our friend's heart. You know, I've been pondering everything shared today. If there's one takeaway, one thing that truly stands out, it's this. We live in a world that thrives on division, on duality, this us versus them mindset that leaves so many of us feeling isolated, unseen, and misunderstood. But what if, instead of focusing on the patterns that separate us, we embrace the love that unites us? The truth is, we are not bound by time, by toil, or by the lies that tell us we're not enough. We are eternal beings, created in love, by love, for love, and in that, we are one family, one hope, one heartbeat. So here's my takeaway for you. Don't let the world define you. Don't let fear or condemnation tell you who you are. Instead, lean into the love you are made of. Hear the knocking on the door of your heart. Open it, and let that love flood out of your life in ways you never imagined. Beyond every closed door of someone's heart is all the living water this creation needs to be liberated from its bondage to death and rust and stuff. We are all on this journey together. And while the paths may look different, the destination is the same, fullness of life. So go forward today with confidence, with hope, and with the assurance that you are seen, known, and infinitely loved. Until the next, my dear friends, I'm Bethany Cross, encouraging you to be well, and above all else, be love. Take care.
Imagine a world where the familiar laws of physics and mathematics as we know them are challenged, rewritten, and redefined. In Father's physics, the quantum world and the macrocosm share the same laws of physics, rejecting the Newtonian law. Numbers behave differently in this framework, and the core principle of 3 equals 1 governs a unique mathematical system. The immortal atom of God, composed of a singularity particle, an ionic particle, and a photonic lattice, represents a new understanding of atomic composition, defying entropy and decay. The concept of neutronic autonomy suggests that neutrons have the ability to change their charge representation, leading to an intriguing aspect of nature itself. The quantum world contains the observer-effect principle, where the mere act of observing changes the result. Father's physics takes this a step further, suggesting that neutrons are not governed by chance but possess conscious awareness. They are not bound by Newtonian laws but can transcend them, choosing their state of existence. This challenges our understanding of determinism and the inherent randomness in the quantum world. If you want to know more about Father's physics and the entire framework, go to YouTube and watch the Wild Stallion Mockast show. Each episode features discussions about the framework of Father's physics, along with other fringe and unconventional topics. Check out Wild Stallion, the AI Mockast, online today.